This is ExsekiasTrivoulides for knowledge from the past. Our subject today is the football in ancient Greece by Evangelos Bexis, Episkiros, Phenindra, Trigon. Give me the ball. The ball bell rings. Do you keep on playing? This is from Arian, book 14th, 116th paragraph. A ball with feathers. This ball filled with compressed feathers with difficulty is less soft than an air-blown ball. Arian, book 14th, 45th sentence. A ball composed by 3 pieces. If you're able to kick it with a quick stroke with the left, it is yours. Cannot? You have failed. Give the ball to someone else. Arian, book 14th, sentence 46th. He caught the bell and laughed as he threw it on a player, and at the same time nodded that he would fly it to someone else. He pushed another player to cut him down and caught another by the foot and raised him up, while at the same time he heard cries and voices outside the boundaries, far away, over his head, very close, behind. Antiphanes, 4th century BC comedian poet. This last description is not a description of a modern football match or rugby, but something between the two, one of the many ball games played in ancient Greece. The ancient Greek football had exactly that mixture of football, rugby, and volleyball. Its name, Episkiros. The court that was held was divided into 2 parts with rocks, gravel, and the ball was made of leather pieces sewn together with animal gizzards, while at the end of the stadium there was a line marking the 2 ends. The soccer ball was air-blown and exterior painted in vivid colors and decorated with geometric designs. The game started as today, and the goal was for the 2 teams to pass the ball from the opposite goal post. At the time we had was what we define today as goal, that is the achievement, to be exact, the epiteuxis, attaining the goal. Even the names of famous football players such Aristonikos of Charistos, Dimotelis of Chios, Herephanes and Ctesibios of Chalkida are preserved. Heads, kicks, and hard clashes means to prevent opponents from reaching the ball. They hit the ball by passing it to their teammates with their legs and hands. The strange is, as Arian gives us, that the game was mainly played by young children and old men, while young people did not take part in it. Galen, the great late antiquity doctor, 180 after the Common Era, in his work about exercises with a small ball, gives us a description of the game. When players are lined up in opposing rows and are struggling to prevent the opponent from holding the ball in the center, then you see a violent exercise with hold on shoulders and wrestling handles. The head and neck are exercised with movements. Shoulders, ribs, chest, stomachs exercised by wrestler-type handholds. Buttocks and legs stretch violently because they are the basis of movements. The combination with the running back and forth and jumping sideways, all but little exercise is. We did not know about the prize money nor about the exact number of players, but we know that the sport was very popular since, as evidenced by extracts from ancient writers, they watched and participated in the evolution of the game with voices, screams, applauses, and even with slogans. From the Archaeological Museum of Athens, we have a stunning relief in marble athlete footballer trying to control the ball on the right foot. It is clear that a footballer does not have to catch the ball with his hands, so he holds them back from his back. A small child watches him with admiration, while behind the athlete we see his garment, which has touched it on a pole as the footballers exercised the nakedness. Other kind of ball games is the Phenindra. The beginnings of these games are lost in the depth of prehistoric Homer's time. And he refers to this game that during the Messenian era, in the 1580 to 1100 before the Common Era, commenting on the outstanding performance in Phenindra of Phaeacus and Alkinos, referring to the daughter of Alkinos, Nafsika. She describes her playing with her servants on the beach with a little ball, a kind of Phenindra. Elsewhere, Odysseus refers to Phenindra like one was throwing the ball running and the other jumping and holding it back to the companion. He was throwing high the ball and began to beat with his gifted legs the land that nourished many, and to make swift turns and alternating while the other young people cheered him up. On the sky loud voices were raised. Iliad 370-375. And they have a beautiful red ball in their hands, and one hurled by bending the body, and the other from the land high jumping in the air easily reached it before it dug the soil. Polydeuces, Antiphanes, and Athenaeus, as did Galen, wrote about this Phenindra. Athenaeus writes, "The Phenindra is the game I love most of all. Great fatigue and excitement during the game with the ball, violent handles and twists of the neck." Isidore gives us a more detailed description. Basic rule: the ball does not touch the ground. The stadium had the dimension of about one modern soccer field. A line in the center of the court was divided into two, and the opposing teams, each consisting of 12 players, were positioned on each side of the line. The goal of the game was to prevent opponents from crossing the center line in any way, and keep the ball in the possession by tossing them to each other. If the ball fell down, it was a point for the opposing team. The beginning of the game was done by twisting a coin to determine who would have the first possession. The ball was leather, filled with sand, and apparently caused a great headache. Antiphanes described the following scene when a player has hit his head. "Alas, what pain am I on my neck." When they were in danger of losing the ball, they threw it to the opponents. It seems that another way to reach a goal was to pass the center line and move to the end of the opponent's area, where passing it, they let the ball fall into the ground, marking a point or points, just like in today's American football touchdown. It follows from the above that the Phenindra was a kind of current rugby played by our ancestors millennia ago. A revealing archaeological find is the marble base of an Athenian archaeological museum, where two groups of young people are portrayed to play Phenindra. In the hand of the athlete to the left of the depiction, the small ball, which is ready to fly, is distinguished. Trigon. The triangle game was another game that was played by three players, standing at the edges of a triangle and playing with a tough ball called triangles. The ball did not bounce to the ground just for that reason. The goal was to fly the ball to another player so that you would either succeed or miss the ball. Something like current apples that are still being played by children. Player maneuvers were part of the game, and two or more balls could be used. When you grabbed the ball with the left, it was a sign of skilled player. Moving the ball from one hand to the other was also a kind of skill. Part of a tactic of the game was to change the change of positions. The throwing of the ball to the player who threw it, it was also considered as a sample of skill. When the ball was lost, the opponent was taking a point, as Aaron tells us. The player's strike from the ball gave points to the opponent. Famous player in the Roman era was Ursus, who had never lost the ball, which was made of rock crystal and had a palm-sized hand with a decorated surface, and two of which have been found so far. we have a description of the game from Seneca. The stadium is the palestra next to the baths, where weightlifters and ball players were practicing. In these triangles, each player had someone who holds the score and a child who brings the ball back. In the Roman years, the game was called arpaston, a Greek word, the grabbing. The internal importance of football and their other functions now. It is mentioned in Plato's Phaedon, this importance. This earth, if one saw it from above, it's similar to a sphere made of 12 colored leathers. Apart from the knowledge of the globality of the earth, it is concluded that the ball was made of 12 colored leathers. All in ancient Greece had their symbolic significance. So 12 colors, the 12 pieces of the ancient Greek ball correspond to the 12 Greek gods and goddesses. The word spheros, sphere, which Empedocles used first and set it as the axis of its worldwide based on numerical analysis, is analyzed as follows. Spheros, sphere. Spheros in Greek, the letters correspond to the following numbers. 200 plus 500 plus 1 plus 10 plus 100 plus 70 plus 200 equals 1081, 1081. So we have now 1 plus 0 plus 8 plus 1 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. The absolute unity. That is one ball corresponded of many pieces. The first move of Aristotle's movement, sphere, universe, deities of the Greeks. It is indeed amazing and simple soccer ball, how many secrets it can hide inside her. We know little about the Urania game, namely that the player was throwing the ball in the sky, bending the body backwards, and the others guessing the direction of the ball, waiting to catch the ball, and measuring the bounces of the ball on the wall by doing calculations. Enlightening for the rest of the functions of football and the ball exercises is the text of Galen, which reads as follows. And the poorest can play a ball because not networks, no weapons, no horses or no dogs, except a small ball are required. It does not hinder the other occupations of man. It does not force him to neglect them. And what better than game where someone can participate regardless of the social status? No one moves all the parts of the body equally. No one changes the pace of his movement. Only exercise with a small ball can succeed. Playing with a ball is a good exercise for both the legs and the hands because you have to grab the ball in any position. The variety of positions exerts different muscles to varying degrees at different times. It is also understandable that it's exercising the eye because you have to think about the position you will take to catch the ball, but predicting its orbit. The player also sharpens his critical ability by designing how he will catch the ball and how he will stay away from the center and how he will catch it when in the center. You can easily understand that exercise with the ball trains on those maneuvers that the state trusts its generals to attack the right time and defend at the right place with the appropriate force. There is no better training exercise to defend the achievements, recover from losses, and predict the plans of the opponents. I particularly support that exercise that promote the health of the body, the harmonious development of its parts, and the virtue in the spirit. And this is the game with a little ball. It is clear from the above that the toys with the ball, and especially the football, could not be characterized by the simplicity in current terms, games, since there are many more things. We have contemporary survivals of the ancient Greek football in Italy. Historical football is the game played today in Florence. The survival of the play played by legionnaires of the Roman Florentine time, with movements used by the Roman legions in the war. The Italians themselves admit, in their honor, that the origin of the game, the play, is from ancient Greece, and this is the ancient Episkiros. In the 1500s, we know that it was played in the squares we mentioned above on dirt ground between four groups: the greens, the reds, the whites, and the blues. The purpose was that the players had to show their ability and courage as in ancient Greece. Each team consists of 27 players and collides 2 each time in a 50-minute match. Sprains, blows, and harsh clashes are often phenomena, and the referee with difficulty interrupts the game to reserve some orders. Supervisors facilitate his work though. The goalers are 2 and occupy the entire width of the court on its 2 smaller sides. When the ball reaches the opposing goal, it is a point for the team that had done it. A crowd of people watching the race is strongly involved in various phases. So we have a vivid proof of how ancient Greek football, episkiros, was played in the most revealing way. And after all this lost knowledge, Britain has come to be considered the motherland of football. So we would say, by closing, to our friends the British, do you know episkiros?